Thank you. All right, we will reconvene from recess of the budget committee meetings. Looks like first up today is CASA. It's in yellow. It's in yellow. 1212?
Oh, yellow. Yeah. Yellow, yellow.
Yeah, it
My
should be
brain,
that.
yeah. I didn't know what color. I found it. Thank you.
Ah, so the yellow is where it is, and the pink is where it is. A little slow, but.
No, I probably put it somewhere in there.
What's up?
Well, there's some good people out there now that I'm looking. I am coming off quarantine. It's great. I brought a little souvenir home from my Europe trip. Not good.
Yeah, my
Oh, juvenile court.
and that's very, very small.
Thanks.
Yes. 0234.
Hello.
Just didn't need it. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm here on two issues. Number one is the 1212. As you can see, it's not a lot. It's just for contracted issues that we have. Same thing I do every year. These are funds that we receive from, it's under the Indiana code that we can ask for like a $10 to $15 charge for every case that we have. We get very limited funds on this, so I use it very sparingly to just cover incidentals that we have, like our state CASA dues, there's no staffing, no nothing under this information, and we just use it until it's gone. And I think currently right now there's like $2,000 left in there, so I'm only asking for $1,000 for next year as well.
Pretty simple.
I have the dates. Can I pass out what the award letters that I got to approve? Okay. So I came before you in March, asking you about 2 full-time positions to be awarded under the juvenile budget. At that time, we had not received our award letters under VOCA or under the Indiana State GAL funding. At that time, we were only being told that our VOCA grant was going to be drastically cut, which was going to cause us to lose several staff members. I have since received that award. It was a huge cut. We went from $256,000 from the 2022 budget, because VOCA's every 2 years, to $146,000. They cut my budget from VOCA $110,000, which equates out to $55,000 a year. That was just from VOCA. So we kind of suspected it. We thought might be coming. After they awarded us our budget, then they turned around and came back and said that there was another amendment, that they also removed all benefits and all travel. So they reduced it another $11,000. So we are at, for the 2023-2025 year, they gave me 3 part-time staff positions, but I lost my full-time position, which is one of the positions that I was asking you for, to go under the juvenile budget. Then we received our award letter from the Indiana State CASA. The year prior, last year, because it's a yearly grant, I received $187,000 for 2022, and for 2023, they cut it by $42,000. So for the total, I am down $97,000 for next year, which is all of my operational expenses and 3 staff members that our program is going to lose if I don't get some other type of resolution to bringing it. The best resolution right now is to move 2 of my staff members over to the full-time position, which is what the council gave me a favorable for on March 8th. If we can move that over, I'm still going through the budget right now, working through everything. That would be, I would probably have to dissolve some positions to move some positions together, which would still result in me losing some staffing, but not at the severity that I would have right now. Right now, I'm looking at losing I have 17 staff members. I'm going to lose approximately 6 right now at the current standing. With that being said, our current numbers for the program right now are 726 children. We are just now halfway through the year. Remember last year we served 1,365. We're at 700 right now. So the projected children right now for our program is going to be 1,400. That's our projected mark. We have 726 children currently in the program, but we have 821 petitions that we're serving. And what that means is that we have children, but then the children may have dual petitions, meaning they may have a regular CHINS case, but they may have a termination case, or a guardianship case, or an adoption case. Those are all separate tracks. So we may have one child that has 4 tracks going. And that means 4 times the court hearings, 4 times all of that. My average staff member right now has about a caseload of 23 to 28 cases. That's not children, that's cases. One staff CASA right now, my highest staff CASA oversees about 102 children. So we're losing 1 staff member. We're going to have, right now, it's saying we're going to have, after losing these staff members, we're going to have 363 children immediately go back on the wait list that we've been able to maintain for 2 years, a 0. We will go right back to a wait list with no recourse.
Is this something that we saw across the state with these cuts?
There has been cuts. We saw a cut across VOCA. We knew it was coming. Pretty much anyone who received a VOCA grant got a cut this year. They had been telling us that it was going to cut.
And you kind of mentioned that.
Where we didn't see the cut was coming from the state funds, because they gave us a 3rd round distribution this year. They opened up new wellness grants. So we were under the impression that everything was okay with the state funds. So nobody was really, really rocking the boat with anything. Not implementing anything new, but we were kind of status quo. When the awards came out this time, everybody cut. I mean, there's some programs that lost over 75% of their funding and it's based upon the numbers that you have in your county on the CHINS. So with us, we're still high. We're still lower than where we were last year, but we're still high. So that's how come we were able to get the funding that we were still have. And we are a pilot program. We lose staff, we get a wait list, we lose our pilot program. So there's going to be more funds that we will lose because we're just not in the compliance. The other issue that we face is that the position that was under VOCA that was full-time that we were requesting is part of the FRC, which is the Family Recovery Court under Judge Mulligan. Under their requirements to have the Family Recovery Court, they are to have a dedicated staff CASA because they are intensive services. They meet with them every week. They have court 3 times a week. That position, we have to have it because if not, then they're in failure of compliance for the Family Recovery Court as well.
Yeah, with all the grants and things, you guys have a lot of
And they're specially trained, so it's not like we can just slide somebody into that position or have them try to take it over. That caseload in Family Recovery Court is massive itself because there is so much intensive stuff, and where on a normal case, you may only have to go to court once every 3 months, and you're having visits every month. With the Family Recovery Court, they're meeting them every week. And they've got 16, 17 cases that they're working on, so it's intensive.
Thanks. I'm sorry about the state cuts. That really upsets me.
So right now, that's what we were asking for, and you guys gave us a favorable on March 8th for the 2 full-time positions to be moved over to the juvenile budget. By doing that, that will open up some other funding that we can take, and we can combine some positions that will allow us to not have to lose as many and still maintain our critical staff, which is what we call our staff costs. They are the critical because they cover the kids, they do the court work, we have to have that. So the other jobs we could probably absorb and dissolve.
Question? Any questions from committee?
That's good. I'm good.
Is that all you have?
I think so. I can give you copies of the award letters. I will tell you that the award letter that I got from VOCA, one of the reasons I ended up getting as much as I did is they said that because you had given me a favorable, it stated in the email that they sent back to me that the reason that they didn't cut more was because the county was going to absorb those 2 positions. So that was one of the saving graces from us losing even more. But I have copies of that if the council would like to have it.
Yes, do you have those with you?
I sure do. Yes, I do. I came prepared this time, remember I dropped.
You always come prepared.
This is just numbers side by side.
Thank you.
The next two are a little different because the way that the capacity grants across, they don't give us the corridors, but like, state, CASA, choosing anyone. So they send it out and it's a form, so the counties that are not related to us are blacked out. So you guys have these, this is 20. Yep. 2023.
Refresh me what the GAL stands for.
Guardian ad litem.
Guardian, thank you.
And this is what we received in 2020. This is all the VOCA information. This is the email that I received telling you that they gave us the county absorbed 2 budgets. This was also telling us where I had to change the 11,000. Here's 2 award letters from VOCA. 2022. And at the top of it, you'll see the differences highlighted. 2020 award and the 2023 comparison next to each other. And it even tells you that there's a cut.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to give Glenna and Casa a shout out. Is it tomorrow, Friday, the steak fry at Basler's?
It is the ribeye sale
Okay.
Friday.
Yep. And then you guys are collecting new shoes. I clarified that
Absolutely.
yesterday for the school kids.
Yep.
And awesome.
So far, we've already received like 100 pairs of new shoes so far, and we're trying to get shoes for all of our kids to go back to school.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys are doing that.
Anything else?
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I know, we don't have pizza.
Thank you.
I hope to make it.
Okay, you're smarter than expected, right?
Juvenile court. Juvenile court ready? All right, let's go for it.
Hi. My name is Deb Kessler. I'm the Chief Juvenile Probation Officer, and Bill Watson is here with me, and we are asking for the council to consider appropriating $35,000 for a new car from the Vigo County Juvenile Probation Department. We presently, and I had submitted my letter along with federal guidelines that we have to meet for children who are in placement throughout the state. At the present time, Bill has found two cars for us, used cars, both are 2012s. One we were given in August of 2019, and then the second one we were given in October of 21. To date, we have driven the cars a total of 32,486 miles. And I ask that you remember that we closed down for COVID. We were unable to, we were not to visit the kids in placement for 15 months. So for 15 months, we did not drive the vehicle. We began doing our placement visits again in June of last year, so we've been doing it for now almost 13 months. And the total for the miles that we have driven was as of June 1st. Since then, two officers had to transport a minor child who had been released from a placement in Indianapolis. The father, who lives in Vigo County, refused that child. We ended up reuniting the child with the parent, or the mother. We had to drive to Franklin, Tennessee, 281 miles to deliver that child. The mother met us halfway. We've had 3 trips to the Indianapolis area. Carmel is where we drive. I have an officer in Fort Wayne today. Yesterday I had 2 officers that went to Wabash, Indiana. So we drive all over. At this point in time, the Sentra is in the shop. It's the second time that it's been in the shop at the county garage. The heat would not turn off, so they tried to put some fluid in it, and the heat doesn't turn on now, but the air conditioning does not turn on either. So it's going to be in the shop for approximately 3 weeks waiting to be worked on. And so we're out of commission with that car. The Chrysler is running well at this point in time, but they're 2012s, and we drive a lot of miles, and I do not want an officer to give me a call up north saying that the car has engine problems and they are stranded.
I would like to say prior to 2 years ago when I started, when Deb told me they didn't have any cars, I learned when I became the director of Port Services, they were driving their own personal cars, trying to get reimbursed on mileage. So when they're talking about driving to Tennessee and place personal vehicle, getting the mileage, but that's not their basic point. So I was able to kind of beg, borrow, and
Let me just say too, I've been on the budget committee, for a number of years now. It's time for you to have a safe car. You can't have kids in a car or employees in a car and be out. And these summers are just, and the winters, just dreadful. We cannot expect you to go out and not be in a safe vehicle. I think we're gonna have to bite the bullet on this one and get you a car that you can depend on. We're asking for trouble if we don't. It's foolish.
Thank you. The Sentra, it's a dicey little car, and I would not drive it in inclement weather at all, 'cause we're on the highways.
It's bad enough to drive around town, honestly, it really is. I mean,
Yes.
it's not gonna last at all.
Correct,
Its
correct.
purpose was really to be a backup emergency if the other car went down, or they had to go in the shop. Found they had nothing other than they would have been back in their own vehicle, or trying to find something that would get them through the years. Possibly share their council, try to figure
Your request, it's more than reasonable. It's really mandatory.
And the Sentra, I take all the time, because I don't, if someone's gonna get stranded on the highway, I want it to be me as opposed to one of my officers. Plus, I wanna take the Sentra to try and keep the mileage lower on the Chrysler, trying to make them last. And, going to placements every month, that's not a decision that we have. The federal government has mandated for probation departments to do this, and have for a lot of years. And we certainly appreciate the cars that we have, because we were putting all those miles on our own personal cars for years. So it's wonderful to have a department car. And I appreciate your thoughts on that, Ms. Wager, that, we need a dependable car, because this federal mandate's not gonna go away.
I may have misunderstood the first part. How many vehicles are you looking at getting?
One.
One, okay. Are you going to keep the same two that you have, or are you gonna trade either one of those in?
I would like to think at this point that they could keep the Chrysler. It still seems to be a serviceable vehicle. The Sentra, if we can get anything for it, absolutely.
You would trade it in?
If we can get something for it, yes. It doesn't have a lot of value for sure, but we'll try.
So have you made contact or looked at any specific kind of cars or with a dealer yet? Something,
I have not, no.
okay.
At this point, all I did initially to try to get a figure for them was I looked at the state bid list and some of the dealers that are on the state bid list to find something comparable with that dollar value that was a smaller, more economical car that we could try to get in that range from them. It would not be a lot of flashy bells and whistles, but it would be reliable and it would have things that they would need to stay safe.
Something I know, and I wasn't here for the last couple discussions, as I was with some school programs, but I was able to watch the recordings, and I know when we've talked about cars, those are smaller cars, so just making sure maybe we look at, like, with the fuel situation, like the most fuel efficient. Those aren't, the ones you guys are talking about that you have now, those aren't big gas guzzlers, by any means, but if we get
No.
something newer, it'll probably be even better. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
How many do you transport at a time typically? Just one person plus the officer? Or how many people are typically in the vehicle at a time?
Most of the time is the officer themselves. We don't normally transport a child. There has been times,
Well, like
but generally it's just the officer that's traveling to the facility to see the child and back to the office.
the one time that you did just have to transport the child to meet the mother. So that was.
Well, we've done a few transports where we've transported a child to a placement or back home, but that's not the normal.
So you don't need a big car as well?
No,
what I'm
oh, no,
getting at.
no, no, no.
So no, like,
Nope.
support you or anything.
Any other questions? Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to take Judge Newton for the rest of the courts. I know you have.
It won't be long.
You don't have, you have an appointment too, don't you?
And I thought it was 3, but I guess I've changed. She,
Well, the schedule is from 3 to 6, and then you're on the list with your designated time.
I'm good.
That's okay.
I've got to get the shoulder.
Yeah.
Want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Who's here so that she can write on my So, it's good to be with y'all here today. We don't have a lot of proposed changes. Oh, very good. This makes it a little easier. This year, we've been really hit with a lot of transcripts, and I think that could have something to do with COVID because of the, we just didn't have the trials, and I think weren't we down the last couple of years quite a bit? Yeah, and so we're asking for an increase to 80,000. I think this year so far, weren't we? We were really high so far this year. And that's for less than half a year. I think it'll flatten out, but we just don't know for sure. But that's why we're asking for 80,000. But for the last couple of years, I think we've been down. We asked $500 for food for meetings. We had some lunch meetings that we met with the sheriff, the jail, others. That if that's a problem, we'll take care of it. But we've put in for $500 for that. Is this $500 more on the subscriptions?
That's a new line item.
Okay, with the obituaries or to locate guardians, so I guess that was moved from, we didn't have that.
any money
Okay.
provided, but we're cleaning up some old, because we have a lot of really old guardianships on the books. And in order to locate people, you have to pay a fee, either, through the paper or through the, to get like obituaries and things. I do a lot of it at the library on their website for the obituaries, but this would give us a little money in case we had to pay a service to find somebody.
Is that the subscription?
Yes, it is. That's what
Okay, so that's what we do.
locating lost, guardians or heirs, or, whatever we need to find, get things closed.
The other two things had to do with travel and mileage. Now, some of us prefer to do meetings by Zoom, but sometimes we're required to go to some of these conferences, and we have to have an inordinate amount of continuing education hours, more than what attorneys do. You guys have always been good about that, just because of the cost of gasoline and other costs. We were asking for a slight increase with travel and mileage, up to $5,000, an increase of $2,000 over the previous $3,000. And then, I think that's been down the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, you
Because,
got in trouble because,
yeah.
This is the first year you've had to do
yes. And then mileage, an increase of $1,000 to $3,000 is what we're asking for. Now, a couple of other things. Judge Reddy's going to make a presentation in a little bit. We were all a little bit concerned about the $150,000. At that time, she had not received a grant. She's going to explain that to you in a little while. I believe that she's reduced that amount to $50,000 that she's going to ask, but she does have a presentation she's going to give you in a
Is this
little
under
while. So I'll let her.
contractual services?
What's that?
This is under contractual services?
Yes,
Outside.
yeah, the,
Or others, contractual
Yeah.
services, others.
yeah, and that was mainly, what she had proposed, and I think that she'd talk to you about this. Now, the last issue, this is not something that we're requesting right now, but it is something that will be coming up in the future, and I guess we would like to know if we're going to pursue this, if you would be amenable to this proposal. When we get our statistics, I know everybody thinks just think whatever about judges and courts, but as far as the courts go, here in Vigo County, I believe it was the past year, we had the third highest need of all 92 counties for a new court. And what our proposal would be is that we have had preliminary discussions with our representative, our senator, John Ford, who's been very much supportive and for this. But a couple of the requirements before we go there is that we would need a letter from the county council supporting this, and also from the commissioners. This is the first that we brought this. I figured after this meeting we would talk about this later. Our proposal would be to switch all the courts in name to circuit court. This is what they've done in Monroe County, Owen County, and other counties rather than Superior. Although we can hear all the same cases, it's quite confusing to people about circuit, Superior, juvenile, because the circuit court was a constitutional office, and they still have the authority to hear juvenile cases and also juvenile and adoptions that have to be filed under that. It's way confusing when it gets to Division III, which is Judge Mulliken. That's the only court in the whole state that has two designations, both as circuit court and as Vigo Superior Court 3. And so I think what our proposal would be is to clean this all up, make it all circuit courts 1 through 7. The 7th court would be the juvenile court, and of course this would be a governor's appointment to that position. And usually what they do is that they have that position for 2 years, and then they would have to run for a 6-year term. I guess because this is a public meeting, I won't make any representations as to who should be that judge, because we'll see who all applies. But the idea would be we would create this new court that would be the juvenile court, and then retain the magistrate's position, and have that magistrate also work with juvenile, because that is such a heavy caseload, and also at the new jail. While we were waiting, I was just working on the weekend court for us, because we all handle, we switch around and handle weekend court, because they're only supposed to be there no more than 48 hours before we make a determination as to whether probable cause was found or not. And so we kind of trade that around. But with the new jail, there's the space, and there will probably be the opportunity to perhaps have a magistrate do some of the work there, but mainly also to alleviate the extreme overburden in juvenile court. So that's our thoughts. I hope that you guys will see the need for it as it's been seen by so many others. And I guess I don't want to go down the path unless people are committed and agree to this, at least in principle, so that we can move ahead and request this. I don't want to go there requesting something that, while we might not all be on board, most of us on board about this, and then just to let us pursue this and see if we're able to get this new court, which is found to be a need. So, yes.
One question, where would this court physically be located?
It would probably be there at the juvenile, just where it is right now. And then we would, with the new magistrate, would probably switch between the jail and where we have our 4D commissioners, so they would probably be in the mornings there. So in that annex building, and maybe in the other, maybe in the jail too, but definitely in the building that's already being utilized.
So the magistrate could do a couple duties, basically, from what it
Yeah, and
sounds
could,
like.
actually, right, the magistrate would be under all of the judges, and so we could, wherever the need was, you know, greatest, and right now, the greatest need is juvenile. I mean,
So-
it's just, I mean, I hear of people, you know, when they make a filing, it's like 9 months before they can get in, and then who knows what'll happen, you know, with, when attorneys and everybody's schedules, I mean, and it's not the magistrate's fault. He is working hard, they're doing everything they can do. I know Judge Bruno has helped, through senior judge, has alleviated some of that. Some of that has been alleviated through the 4D commissioner, Judge Adler. Some of it, even Judge Mulliken has taken some of this on. Vicki, did you have something?
So the judge would be paid by the state? Would
Yes.
that be correct? We would have a magistrate that we pick up?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it would just be a switcheroo, you could say. So the magistrate we're paying for now, that would just move into that. We would create the new court, which would be paid by the state. We hope that they get the $5,000 stipend that's allowed. And then, you know, unfortunately, you know, the staff too. I was thinking about this coming over. This is really unfortunate that it has to be this way. And it just creates unnecessary bad feelings sometimes, not with us, but sometimes people, you know, towards our staff, because, well, they're our employees, but then they're under the handbook, or are they, or where, and they should be all state employees. I'm a state employee, even though I run here, you know, I'm a state employee, and I really think they should be too, and it's not, I just don't think that we should have to pay for that as a county, but that's the way it is right now. And I think that commission that former Governor Kernan and the former Chief Justice Randy Shepard had, I think that was one of the recommendations, if I'm not mistaken, but of course, nothing's happened with that.
So Judge Newton, so basically cost-wise to the county, it would just be the staff that would be working
It would be
within
the
court?
staff, yeah,
Okay.
there would be some staff and their benefits.
And facilities, and then how many employees would you propose that would
I wouldn't see.
require?
I would think 3,
That's it?
probably 3 employees, yeah. You know, that would be, you know, that we would ask for the clerk to assign a clerk there to them, but
But the clerk would need more employees, I would assume, to pick up
maybe,
the-
but, you know, we would be looking at a court reporter, bailiff, and an administrative assistant.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm looking at
But
3
you'll
right
you'll
now.
be working that stuff out when you make your actual proposal and so on?
Yes, yes. So I guess what I'm asking for, and maybe this is not the place, because I know this is just a committee of the county council, but if this is something that we could, if we move ahead, that we could get a letter from the council, just a letter of intent saying, yes, we support this, at least in principle, so that we can move ahead. But I think they'll be looking for that. The legislature will be, and also from the commissioners, and I have not approached them yet, so.
And I'm assuming that you're very, very hopeful that it'll spread the workload more
Yes,
evenly to the
and
courts and
and
alleviate-
mainly what it is, I mean, we're in the service business too, you know, we're trying to serve, like you all, you're public servants, and, you know, we want to serve people the best way possible, and when I hear stories that people are trying to get in, you know, that they have a custody battle, or that one parent is withholding parental rights, and maybe for good cause, but most generally not, you know, especially where a court has made a determination and they don't follow that court order, and it takes 9 months to get in. I mean, that's just, it just makes me ill when I think that. So people just need to get to court. You know, justice needs to be fair, and it needs to be prompt, and those are the things that we're trying to do.
I have
So, yes.
2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, maybe one, I think we answered one. By adding a court, would that, one of the concerns we've had with, and I know juvenile's separate, but one of the concerns we've had is with the jail population, like getting people through the courts and things like that. Would that alleviate some of the need, like, pace in the other courts by doing this, or is there, it's a completely different thing? Do you see where I'm going with it?
Well, I mean, mainly it would help, you know,
Juvenile
with juvenile.
specifically.
But the idea is if they could be at the jail too, that we might be able to move people out quicker. We're doing our best. We got a great report on, you know, from the commission on our trial rule 26. The problem is, you know, people still just keep getting arrested. You know,
Oh,
you
I
can
know.
tell them all the.
We've got issues.
You can do all the things that, you know, say, do this, do that. Oh, yes, of course, Judge, of course I will. Yeah, absolutely, you can take that to the bank. You can count on it, I promise.
Well, and part of, you know, with my background working with young people and then having the counseling background too, I've been pretty firm that we need to be more proactive with our younger people, especially going into adulthood and families that are
All
in
of
need.
us.
So this would help and support in that area
And
then too.
I think Judge Reddy, when she comes, that she's gonna address some of that, even though she doesn't deal, you know, with the criminal side of it. This hopefully will alleviate some of that as these children grow up. Yeah, it's.
We can just do better for our kids and our community.
Absolutely, and I think that all of us, as judges, I think I can speak for all of us and say we agree with you, you know, and, all right. Anything else?
Who makes the ultimate decision whether we get to court or not? Does the state?
The legislature would.
So that would be
So
something
we have our, you know, I've not talked to any of the others. I've talked to Senator Ford. He's been, well, you all know.
Yeah, I've talked to him about it before.
He's, well, not just this, but I mean, anything, you know, he's been great, you know, to work with, he's very approachable, and he is very much on board with this, but he wants to make sure that all of you are, and then the commissioners too, before we go forward. And if we have that, then, you know, I don't know, it might be a year, it might be a couple of years before that happens, but we're at the point where we need to move ahead.
I guess, is this something that should be heard in front of the whole council?
I think it should. I think it should. I just wanted to know, I mean, if you guys, you know, you don't even have to commit. I guess I was kind of hoping you'd say, yeah, go ahead with it, you know, and we'll see, you know, I mean, without this isn't, you know, a firm commitment, but I guess just say, hey, we support this in principle, but we really need that to move ahead and to even explore this possibility.
By all means.
You might tell him about Baker Tilly's little lecture yesterday, David.
Yeah.
What was that?
I would say we put this on the
August agenda.
August agenda.
Okay.
You should submit a letter, and we'll get on the agenda for this. Because
Calissa, when is that?
the August meeting,
Yeah.
August 2nd and 9th, maybe?
First and second Tuesday.
So
Sunshine's first Tuesday.
It's
Sunshine's
August.
first Tuesday, and then the,
August 2nd,
and then the votes the following.
the 9th,
The ninth.
Yes.
Second, the ninth.
and
The
the
request would need to be in mid-July. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around mid-July.
mid-July.
I can do that.
Okay. All right, good. All right, anything else? June, did I? Okay.
I would advise that if you could provide kind of an outline of employees and things like that that you would need, that would, you know, you would be providing them with as much information as possible and what maybe the future cost would be.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. And, you know, and then I guess you've got the supplies and all the other things that go with that. But as far as, we're not looking at a new facility or a place that has to be repurposed. I'm thinking of, you know, where the 4D court is in that building, and then also at the jail. those are the two places, but at least that's our initial thoughts. Okay?
I just have one
Yeah,
more quick,
Brenda?
it's off of that topic,
That's
back
okay.
onto this. Just curious how you accomplished getting, your service agreements down by $10,000. It was 13,000, you're only asking for 3. Did you, how did you accomplish that?
That's only our comp.
Okay, but it went from 13,000 down to only 3? Or did the lease,
Might not be right.
oh, sorry. Don't get too
Darn,
excited.
I thought, boy, we were doing something right there.
I don't know why that's 3,000.
Is that, hold on, let's see if it's a typo.
Strange.
Is it,
Oh, well, it says 3,000 in what you submitted, but you might check that to see if
We
that's,
have 13,000.
yeah, but in your request, you asked for 3.
Sorry.
no, okay,
We need a little bit more than that.
I'm glad I brought that up.
I'm glad you did too. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
You
I
need
just-
to file something that we know, so check on it and see what the actual number's supposed to be. And
Yeah, well, I think it's 13,000.
that- I just, yeah, I wondered if, we've
We,
got another.
we can put that in amended. Is that what you want? Do you need that?
yes,
Okay, you'll do
If you
that.
can-
And then,
if you
and then
can-
I guess we'll be sending it,
if you can
with
submit
Lucky's
something in-
proposal will be amended too.
Yeah, but if you can send something in writing that you need to amend that line, that would be appreciated.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Instead of submitting a whole new budget.
Just saying.
Thanks, Brenda.
No problem. Is that- Well,
could've been-
I do know that, like, one of our other department heads, a copier lease came due, and it was $21,000 for 5 years. And they said, that sounds a little outrageous, I'm gonna shop this. Told the salesperson that, salesperson came back the next day with another contract for $10,000. So just by questioning it,
Right,
it was
right.
brought down. So I'm wondering if, I was just wondering if maybe you did the same thing.
I'm not real sure.
But, yeah, I'm glad I brought it up too, because I don't want you to be shortchanged.
Thank you, guys. Anything else? All right, we'll get that in and we'll get a letter to you for that agenda. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see
Good
you.
luck with your shoulder.
Thank you.
Is it Dr. Peck by any chance?
Dr. who?
Dr. Peck at Indiana Hand Shoulder? That's who Fred's seen.
No, it's Hand and Orthopedic Asham.
Okay.
He's a physical
here
therapist
in-
right
here
now.
in town.
Here
Oh,
in
yes,
town.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we're going that route now,
Yep,
so.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks.
Assessor?
You're rolling.
Council members, Kevin Gardner, County Assessor. I'm making an assumption that you guys have pretty much everything I've got. So do you want me to just, I really didn't make many changes. The assessor's budget, I remained it the same. It pretty much covers everything I need. I don't see any future expenses needed in there. The sales disclosure fund, I did decrease that. I believe with that decrease, I can still maintain everything I need in there. That is one that is a perpetuating fund. It currently has a balance, or it did as of 5/2 of $116,564.57. So that continues to build based off of the sales disclosures that come through, the fees that are charged by the state, and we get half. Reassessment budget, I requested a reduction of 21,000 on the contractual services other. The reason for that is last year you guys gave me the funds for Change Finder, which was a little over 40,000. The 40,000 was the initial setup fees and the one-time fees that were added to that. Going into the future, that's, and I'd have to pull it out, but I think it's like 20,000 or 22,000. So that part I don't need to go forward.
What was the name of that?
Change Finder.
I remember you talking about it.
And just to let you know, Change Finder, we did finally get it activated and started as of last month. When we initially turned it on and set it up, now Change Finder, because I had also requested a yearly flyover, which you granted me that also. The reason that's important is because when they started this up, it showed that from 2020 to 2022, we had 1,929 new structures in the county. We had 1,570 changed structures in the county, 1,466 that were demolished, 3 unknown. So those are ones you still have to look at and see why is it unknown. With an existing number of structures of a little over 73,000. Now, the fact that it found that many new and changed and demoed is the part that I think is important. Now, remember, that's from 2020 to 2022, and we're looking at these every year, so a lot of those we may have found, and we will go in and update those and flag them and say these were already found. But a lot of those we're gonna find that aren't. We're gonna find sheds and garages out there that we wouldn't have found for who knows how long. And now that we've got the yearly flyover, we're gonna get this every year. Once that flyover takes place, it's gonna kick out this report and say, this is how many new structures you've got, and here's where they're at. So if it's not something that we've got scheduled to look at, we can go out right then and pick it up. If it's a structure that's been demolished, we can go out right then and remove it, so the taxpayer's not getting billed for something that they don't have. So I just wanted to give you those numbers to show that is something that's going, I think, be very productive for the county. The only other thing I've got, and then I'm assuming you'll have questions on the budget, is I'm trying to streamline my budget. I know, Brenda, you're wanting to have a balanced budget, and I think that's only possible if every office streamlines it to exactly what they need. And we do that with the fear that when something pops up and we have to come and ask for it, that we may get rejected or raked over the coals. So historically, people try to leave their budgets padded just to take care of that themselves. So discarding all that, I've started streamlining the budget. Now, I can tell you that House Bill 1260 just passed, and it was signed into law, takes effect as of July 1. There's several things in there that pertain to assessments, but the one that I can see that may be at a cost to the county is it is a requirement that we have access to our property record cards on our website. That's not Beacon. Beacon has all that information, so it's there, but the state says we have to give them access to our actual property record card. Well, we can't give them access to our camera system. So what that means is somehow we have to upload a PDF copy of all 60,000 property record cards and have them in some sort of format where someone can go on there and search for theirs and print theirs off. I'm in communications right now with Beacon to see if they have some way of attaching that PDF to that specific parcel, which I think would make it a lot easier. They said that yes, there is. They said there's another software that I would have to have, but they're working on coming up with an estimate. So we may be talking a couple thousand, which is something I could probably still get out of my current budget. We may be talking 10 or 20,000. I don't know. But it is something that has been signed into law. We do have to do. They said Beacon does not count. Even though it's got all of the exact same information, and it's even in an easier to read format than looking at our property record card. The law says we have to have access to the property record card.
Even though Beacon will.
Even though Beacon's got everything you need.
Well, and even though Beacon is who you're gonna probably use to facilitate the transfer.
They will
That's
attach the
crazy.
PDF to a parcel. And we also make it, if someone sends me an email and says I need these property record cards, I send them to them. So it is accessible, but they say it has to be accessible from our website. I did talk to our GIS and our IT, and I got the impression that it's not something they want to attempt to mess with, so to leave it up to Beacon. So again, I'm just throwing that out there. It may not be a big expense, but it is something we don't have a choice, we have to do.
I appreciate that you're looking ahead and planning ahead for it. That's part of the other direction that I really was trying to get everything to go. And I really appreciate that you put together the plan like we asked.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do.
I appreciate that immensely.
Did they give you a time frame of when you're supposed to have that done?
July 1.
Like all the
That's when the law
PDFs?
comes in effect, right? So you're supposed to
It
have
was
it.
signed and it's effective as of July
So
1.
as of July
As of
1.
July 1.
So you need to have.
So they
this in
have to be
place by
accessible
then.
as of July 1 now. I don't know that it'll be a big issue if it doesn't make it till a few months down the road. I don't know that anyone's even going to use it. So I think we're okay if it's not done by July 1. But it says it has to be effective as of July 1.
I say, is our website even really have, I mean, did the tech guys tell you the capability just to have it dumped on there?
They
Yes.
didn't get into that with me.
Okay, because I mean, it's just a lot of information and Beacon's fairly easy to, use.
And people are
Yeah, and
familiar
it
with
is
Beacon.
public, anyone can get
I'm-
on
A
it.
lot of people use it. Matter of fact, last year I added
I used
the
it for
cell
Christmas
search
cards.
tool. And in the appeals that we're processing right now, I've had several people that have did a cell search and send me in that with their appeal. That's the idea. That's why we did
Right.
it. And I think a lot of them have found that our values were correct and they withdrew their appeals. I've had several that have withdrawn already after looking at that. So it would be an easy button to be there for people to use. Getting the data there, I think, can be the issue.
I again, just kind of lost it. I just wonder what the rationale is, maybe other counties
There's several
aren't-
other
maybe other
silly
counties
things
aren't
that are
doing
in that House bill that Cheryl's familiar with, because we're gonna have to work together on some of them, but it's just something somebody decided to sign.
Kevin, just real quick, I don't know if you've talked to Lyle about, the Lyle tax site we have with the treasurers where they pay the taxes they can go on.
I have not.
Okay, we might reach out to them because I know several counties have built on top of that one.
And
that
just
site.
attach the PDFs to
And
their
they've
site?
attached all kinds of stuff. It's almost like Beacon. They can go out and pull all kinds of stuff. So
Let's-
I might get with you and we can reach out to them too to
Okay.
see what type of
I
price
appreciate
or
it.
whatever. But that is one of them that we send people to.
I mean, definitely
What
whatever
is
the
that one,
cheapest route
Cheryl?
we could do it and accomplish.
Yeah, it's the Lyle
LOW.
tax info.
LOW. Looks like low.
You go by, go low now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's all I have.
We're brainstorming, stuff like that.
I love it.
Kevin, you and I had talked, in the past about, you potentially getting new assessment software, and it was also brought up yesterday. Where do you stand on that? And like, how far in the future?
Who brought it up yesterday?
Huh?
Oh,
Well, we'd had a conversation, so.
I can tell you, our IT does not like ProVal, which is our camera system. And not to get into too much in depth, but it's got to do with security risks. With the admission you have to be a ProVal user, which they say leaves doors open. We've been with ProVal for so long, the staff is so comfortable with it. I hate to make a switch, although I do know at some point we are not going to have a choice. ProVal went from having, I think, 71 or 76 counties to now they're down to, I believe, 9. Exsoft has switched places with them. Exsoft now has 72 to 74, something like that, that they've picked up for camera systems. They did talk to me last year. I actually got as far as having them give me a quote, and in that quote, I had them stretch out the payments over 7 years. They didn't want to go past 5, and I had them, that was interest-free. But even at doing that, doing the conversion is roughly $400,000. Now, their CAMA is $20,000 cheaper for maintenance a year, but to eat up that $400,000, we're looking at like 15 years down the road before we're at the break-even point where the county saved anything. And I guess I keep kicking the can because I hate for the county to take that big of a hit. I mean, $400,000 is a lot of money. Granted, I don't doubt at all, we are gonna have to do it. It's just when.
How much,
It may be 10 years down the road.
how much does that look a year? Is 400,000 the total cost?
400,000 is the conversion.
Okay.
The actual software is 62,000 a year.
So just to convert to this new software?
Just to convert is 400,000. To convert our data and do our training is 400,000. Then it's roughly $20,000, $22,000 a year cheaper on the maintenance.
So your software is 62,000 and you have maintenance on top of that? Or is that?
Well, that's your
62
maintenance. You pay for the software, then you pay that every year.
So
I
the
just call that a
62
maintenance fee.
But the 62,000 is part of is your maintenance, or is it part of your software?
That is purchasing the software, and then that's what you're gonna pay every year. So to me, that's a maintenance fee.
Okay. I just wanted to
The
make sure.
400,000 is for them to install the software, get it up and running, train you, convert your data into the new data. It's just a big bite. I did actually come into communications. I contacted ProVal's CEO. I've contacted their salesperson. I contacted one of their workers, and then I contacted 2 of the other counties that are still using them. The 2 counties say that they do believe there'll come a point they have to switch. They don't think it's going to be in the near future. The CEO says, nope, we're going to be around forever. I don't believe that. I also asked them why they couldn't reduce our fees. I said, you're charging us a little over $22,000 more. We're a good customer. We're your biggest now, I think. Why does that have to be so high? He's supposed to get back with me, but I doubt that I'm going to hear from him. So I was trying to get it reduced. I don't know that that'll happen. And yes, we are going to have to convert. It's tough because when you go through a conversion, Cheryl knows because I just did it in Lao. You're a year or 2 down the road still finding issues. And it's not necessarily anything wrong with their data. It's just you go from data being stored one way to data being stored another way. One system
Learning curve.
accepts certain flags, another one doesn't. One system interprets something one way, another one doesn't. It's just not a fight that and I definitely wasn't going to hit it this year with everything else the county's been hit with. With the cost tables that have went up like they have, with gas prices, everything else that everyone's getting hit with, I didn't want to come in and ask for another 400,000. You gave me Change Finder, you gave me a yearly flyover. I didn't want to look like someone's only got their hand out.
Well, I just wanted to commend you again, because that's exactly what I'm asking for. And when I'm talking about balancing budgets, if we had all the department heads to be clones of you and with the forethought and the ability to shop and/or cut where you can, where you feel like you can, that's all we're asking, is we've just got to do that, because with everything going up, the departments that are doing what they're supposed to do, we don't want to take anything away from you because you've already done what we've asked. The other departments that are, excessively padding, we're just going to have to tell them they're going to have to tighten their bootstrap. But I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you.
Very much.
Kevin, can I add to that real quick, though? My concern is our integration that we're required to have for state. I'm getting a little nervous with the
ProVal
ProVal
still
and,
passes their, because
I
they have
know.
to get certified,
but
and they did pass their last certification.
that's where we're gonna have some difficulty in.
And my worry was that they wouldn't make the attempt to continue to certify because of that, because I do think they are on their way out.
They are.
You don't lose that big of a margin and
They
plan
are,
on
'cause
still fighting. They're on their way out.
They're the other side of what we had of MVP tax. And so MVP tax is down to just a very few, they're owned by the same company, and they're down to very few counties too.
And I have met with Exoff. They came here and they did a demonstration. We looked at their software. Everything looks good. It's easy. It's Excel spreadsheet layout. I mean, it really works the same as if you're familiar with Excel. A lot of my staff's not, but training's not a problem. Like I say, my biggest hurdle was just the conversion. We're gonna have to hit it, I know that. You had to do it with yours. So I don't know. I mean, it's coming, but it's a big hit, and I just didn't want to do it right now. And I don't know if they're gonna charge more the next time they quote it to me. I don't know if they may be upset and not let me go out 7 years on paying for it, interest-free. But I guess I can negotiate with them. I got them to go 7 years the first time.
Maybe you could go 10.
We can try, we can push it.
Can ask, all they do is say no.
All right. Anything?
Just so you know, he has provided, some information that was with the budget, so, and it really mirrors a lot of what he discussed today. So if you have questions, you can look back at that too.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good day.
You too.
We have about 20 minutes before Judge Reddy should be here, so if it'd be a good opportunity, if somebody needs to find the restroom, just turn your mics off. I have no clue. I mean, originally, we only allotted a half an hour for the whole department, but then she added this in, so I'm not sure. So. Really? Because we're all taking break.
Yeah, was it her with the fan? That's okay, that wasn't my room thing. Oh, that's right, that was at the other hotel, yeah, we weren't at that hotel. Yeah, the entire hotel, yeah, just for 10 minutes, but, well, the first night we were there, 'cause we were,
No.
just night, but the first night, my roommate also got drunk because he was like, seriously, he used to get burger on it again, but I don't know what happened. And our windows, as it was a higher building, it's like
thing with a face.
I said, my friends were good at that. Oh my God, and it's great. I can. Yeah, it was hard. My son does have an allergy. Of course, on his pain, but the company was so cautious about that action. And I didn't get, but they were fine. So, I will say, I have. No, negative. My husband, but yeah, I was. And I probably. I thought it was just, they just tried it. We're doing juvenile court or drug court? And, I was just feeling. And, like 2 days before. Which, and people tell you about that, like, girls, they're hot. Oh, let me tell you, that's what I was gonna tell you, so.
I don't know, I haven't talked to him.
Oh my gosh, he's I loved him.
I can't believe he ended up going.
Oh my gosh, so much, he was with me on the Eiffel Tower where I was.
You probably don't have a, oh. Are we the last ones today? Yeah. I know. Well, Judge Newton June came early when they heard there's gonna be a PowerPoint, so. Now, I mean, you reserved 2 hours for us, right? You did. We're not gonna be here that long, but thank you. Vicky, he said he'd stay 2 hours for us. I'll order dinner if you wanna. We're not gonna be.
That's on the record, just so you know.
Well, thank you for having us. We will try and keep it brief and short. I've got Zoya and Gavin who are interning with me this summer. They're gonna, in just a in a few seconds, they're gonna give you a brief PowerPoint. This is the first time I have requested a pretty substantial amount of money. I don't know that a family court has ever made this kind of request. I asked for 150. I'm going to be reducing that amount, and I'll tell you how much I'm going to reduce that amount for. And the amount is for contractual services. It's for families and children. It's only for the family court. It is not for families and children who are part of the DCS system. It is not for anyone that is in the criminal justice system, and that's what makes this really unique. This is for prevention. This is to strengthen families. It is to keep families and children out of our criminal justice system. And you've heard me say it before, we can't keep building jails. We've got to come up with a solution, and that's what this is all about, is to try and help save taxpayers money. So I'm going to let Zoya and Gavin give you a brief PowerPoint, which is really going to talk about what the impact of divorce is on families and children, and sort of what some of the, what early intervention can do. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and then I will talk a little bit after that.
Sorry. Sorry about that. You can move the podium if you need to. Or you can carry that little microphone with you if you want. Can't she? Here, she knows that.
Is that good? Or
Yeah, or,
right there?
there you go.
Okay. That's fine.
Or she can,
To record it too.
So in the U.S., about 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's even worse for second marriages and third marriages. And then because of that, about 50% of all children experience divorce in the U.S. And studies have shown that daughters of divorced parents have about a 60% higher rate of going through a divorce themselves, and then sons have a 35% higher rate of going through divorce. So the effects on divorce, other than that, is a higher chance of psychopathology, academic underachievement, depression, anxiety, substance use disorder, aggression, and unfortunately delinquency as well. Children of high conflict divorce often experience high chronic stress and then emotional distress as well. That's much higher than just regular conflict divorce.
Just hold it from the bottom.
So some of the costs associated with divorce is, so one study found that about the state and the federal government, it cost them about $30,000 because of an increase in food stamps and public housing, increased bankruptcies and juvenile delinquency. And another study found that just helping one 14-year-old child can save in the long run $2.6 to $5.3 million. And that's through a lot of different things, whether it's going through the criminal system and other public benefits. And as Zoya mentioned, one of the symptoms or one of the effects of your parents going through divorce is depression, and depression alone or depression-related costs have been $8.3 billion spent every year. Some of the costs on the community is having to build new jails, having to add on to those, having to staff and build juvenile centers, the cost of going through the court systems, employment, and rehab when they seek help. So preventative intervention has been found to be very helpful and preventative. So co-parenting arrangements are key to identifying high-risk families who may benefit from the preventative interventions, because when you get these families that are now divorced, but when you get them into this co-parenting, their therapist is able to understand their situation better and then therefore individualize the help that they receive. And one of the things that the Indiana Supreme Court has done in recent years is they created a family law task force, one that Judge Reddy's actually a part of. She's a member on, and they assessed, they had many professors, they had judges and psychologists, and they were ordered to analyze the research on court reform, assess the impact of innovations in other states, identify innovative strategies to significantly improve court processes, and provide a written report with findings and recommendations. So one of those recommendations, recommendation 14, was parenting classes, and so that's what we're going to kind of focus on. So the task force believes that the Supreme Court wants to encourage evidence-based intervention in the judicial system. And so one of the things they found is there's courts across the state of Indiana that are currently referring patients to classes already, but a great deal of that is there's a variety between the courts and what judges suggest different programs. And so there needs to be research into which type of those parenting classes are effective. And so when you know the individual families, you're able to more effectively place them in the best programs. So having a trained professional in the court would be able to increase efficiency and effectiveness in placing the families in the different classes that best fit their needs. So one of the judicial concerns about the variation was that there's different lengths of programs. So there's some that are only require 4 hours of training, and there's some that are 10 to 16 weeks long. And so not all families need the 10 to 16 weeks, but they have found that some of those longer programs, the cost-benefit analysis has came back that it was worth it in the long run. But of course, some families that aren't as high conflict don't need that much training. The parent education programs, the hope is to improve the co-parent relationship and parent-child relationship and provide parents with the skills to navigate their parenting issues outside of court, which prevents them from coming back into the court. Unfortunately, it appears, or the task force found that most of the programs used across the state are not supported by empirical research demonstrating their effectiveness in helping parents. But that is why, through our research, we found a study that actually was successful and does have that data to back it.
Okay, so that study is called the New Beginnings Program, and basically parents going through a divorce can sign up for this program, and it has 10 sessions that teach parents how to effectively parent. So the classes include things like how to build positive relationships, how to openly communicate with both your divorced partner and your children about the situation. Also, they teach you how to effectively discipline your children and how to keep them out of the middle of the conflict so they don't really get more than they need to know about the divorce that's occurring. So research has shown that effective parenting helps children positively adjust to divorce, and that's supported by the research that was done on this program and its effects. It showed reduced rates of mental disorders and substance abuse disorders. Children who were in the program also had higher self-esteem ratings, and they just generally had better grades as well. And the amount of time spent in jail for most of those children also decreased as well. You will see at the bottom that there was a net benefit cost of $1,630 per family. Essentially what that number means is that's how much families didn't end up paying in services that they would have had to pay for if they did not undergo this program. Now, not every single family was going to need every single session or every single class that they offer, but anger management issues perhaps, or co-parenting classes, or counseling between children and parents are all things that many divorced families need. That was a very good example of what we would be able to use the money for, and so we're going to turn it back over to Judge Reddy to finish.
Thank you. Where are you guys, I'm just curious, where are you guys from or interning from? What's your background?
So I was born and raised here in Terre Haute, and I'm interning with Judge Reddy at the court right now. So,
Are you with one of the, like a university or schools or?
I'm not part of a program that comes here with her, but I go to IU Bloomington, and I'm still an undergraduate, so I'm going to be a sophomore next year.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
I'm still very interested in law school
Yeah.
after my time with her.
I just graduated at Hoosier and I went there, so.
Well, I'm from Danville, Illinois, but I just finished my first year of law school at Indiana University, Bloomington, Maurer School of Law.
Good job. Nice job, guys.
And so I'm here interning for Judge Reddy through the Rural Justice Initiative Program.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's
It's a good
why we're here.
program.
Thank you.
You guys are very lucky to get to intern with her, let me
Yeah.
just tell you that.
It'll be a good experience.
I have kept them busy. There has not been a shortage.
No, and it's nice that you let them present. I'm a teacher, so I always get excited by stuff like when younger people present.
So I wanted them to present, just to sort of give you an overview of, and you probably already knew this, what the impact of divorce is on children, but I also wanted you to see that, there really are a lot of studies out there that show, what, the positive benefits are of early intervention, not just short-term, but long-term, right? I mean, there's a financial benefit to early intervention, and then there's those long-term, there's our intangible. Are we going to, prevent children from, ending up in jail? Are we going to, help them both emotionally and socially? And what are those indirect benefits? Because, they're around other children, they're around other families, and there's a negative impact to other people. There's a lot at play here. And if we don't start intervening earlier, we already know this jail's not big enough. We're going to fill it up before we know it.
A quick question, when does this intervention begin? Does it begin when the parents file for divorce or when the divorce is finalized?
I want to start it from day one.
When they first file?
And
I
we
agree.
have, well, we were here before with Brandon Halleck, and so we've already got a plan underway. We're already starting with a social worker. I want to give you, I know my husband says I'm always the bearer of bad news, but you have to know the bad news if you want to come up with a solution. And, not surprisingly, we are not in a good place. We are lacking in important protective factors for our children. In 2021, we had 577 juveniles that were arrested. 25% of them were for battery. How many of them do you think are going to end up in our jail? And that's why I say, how quickly is that new jail going to be full if we had 25% of 577 juveniles arrested for battery? Pretty quick.
Have we seen an increase, I'm just trying to see if there's like other funding options too. Have we seen an increase in divorce rates or cases coming to you because of COVID? I mean, like, just the fact of the intensity of everything that's going on, and this, I know we've seen a lot of other social impact, but have you seen, do you feel like there's more filings or
You know,
anything?
I've been so busy, I haven't stopped to look at the numbers. I feel like it. I can definitely tell you the level of conflict, I feel like, is 100 times worse
Maybe just the
than it
type
was
of
just a year
conflict,
ago.
yeah.
The numbers are probably higher, because I just see the number. I mean, I'm not actually looking at it, but you just feel so much busier.
But
that they
the
have to
issues
be.
maybe are bigger than what you were dealing with
They
before.
are definitely
Yeah.
a lot.
I,
of
I think
conflict.
David probably can comment on this, but I keep track of the jail log in the newspaper. Domestic battery is up tremendously. The violent arrest is horrendous in the last couple of years. It's really awful.
Mental health is up, the number of calls that I get for EDs just among youth from
And
ages
drug
of
use,
18
and
to 25.
meth is bad, yeah.
Substance use.
All of those numbers are up, and they're not gonna get better. You know, we can keep our heads in the sand, but I think we need to come up with a solution, and for me, it's early intervention, and the people that know who's in trouble, it's law enforcement, it's the judges, and it's teachers. And the teachers have their hands full, and so does law enforcement. But I think it's coming up with those financial resources to get services. You know, just, you know, to go on with, you know, our suicide rate in Vigo County, it's 11.5%. You know, we've got high risk factors for drug use. We've got, shockingly, we have a low commitment to education, which that's not good. You know, we've got food insecurity. We rank at the top of the state for termination of parental rights. We're high in the state for single households because we've got, 5, you know, prisons around us. And so, you know, essentially my point is we've got to be focused on children. And so that's why I'm asking for this money. So when I came here, you know, several months ago, Brandon and I talked, I told you I was going to come in, right? I mean, I was trying to prepare you. So here's where we are. I asked for $150,000 for 2023. I'm reducing that to $50,000 for 2023 is what I'm asking for. And here's what that money is for. We are already getting some funding to pay for 2023 for a social worker. And that's what that social worker is going to do is to provide direct supervision. And that is going to be hired by Canton Services for Youth, and I'm going to refer to that social worker who will provide direct supervision, case management, you know, decide what kind of services does this family need, because, you know, these families, they need an immediate evaluation. As soon as that divorce is filed, I want to get an evaluation. What do they need? You know, what kind of trauma has this family already endured? And all of this needs to be confidential, but, you know, where are they really at and what services do they need? And do they need help with housing or employment or job skills? Do they need to get on Medicaid, or do they need help with insurance or whatever it is? A social worker can help with these things. The courts are not equipped to that. We get these phone calls, but we are not equipped to help with these things. And these families could do so much better if they had a social worker helping. So that's that aspect where we're getting other funding to help with that aspect of it. The $50,000 that I'm asking for now in 2023 is to help with some of these mental health services that are not going to be covered by health insurance. We are going to do our best, and that's the other thing that the social worker can do is figure out what can be covered by health insurance or what can be covered by grant services. A lot of these things, either we might have some grant funds that can cover the services, or places like FSA, hey, sometimes Medicaid will cover these services. Sometimes FSA or other organizations, they've got VOCA funds that will cover certain kinds of services. So social worker can figure out, are there other funds and resources that will cover the kinds of services that we need? If not, then that $50,000 can help cover the services. Well, what kinds of services? Individual counseling, family counseling, co-parenting counseling, anger management, parenting skills, life skills. I mean, life skills are like hygiene, cooking, you know, whatever it is. I'm not an expert, but whatever those skills are, those are all of the things that are necessary to help a family thrive. And if we don't get them those services, I think that's where that gap is that are falling apart. I just really believe that if we could start providing families these things, we could turn things around.
Actually, if I'm reading this correctly, you're just asking for an increase of 25,000 versus the total 50, or the previous ask was for 25 last year.
But that's for 2022. That 25,000 was for 2022.
But I mean, you're just asking for an additional 25,000 added to that 25.
No.
No.
So so when I came back in February, that
Right.
25,000 was just for the year 2022.
Right.
So now for 2023 budget year, I'm asking for 50. I'd asked for 150, now I'm just asking for 50.
But the total budget for 2022 was 25,000.
That was a special.
That was just additional appropriation. Okay.
Yeah.
I see it now. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's helpful too. And I did just go to the other column, see the adjustment.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, do I think the 50 will cover it all?
That's just what I
Probably
was gonna
not.
ask, do you think that's enough?
No, but I think, Brandon is pretty adamant that we'll do fundraising to cover
And I'm
what
doing
we
dancing and
can't. and-
services for you, so I'm gonna do my part to help raise all kinds of money
I did
for
hear
Casey,
that you
yeah.
were doing that. You know,
I'm gonna
we
be
don't- we
hitting you
don't-
guys up, by the way.
we don't want to over ask. And I think that when I came here last time, I told you, this is going to be evidence-based, and we're going to prove it to you. And one of the reasons I asked them to give you that PowerPoint, and that I wanted to present more than you probably need it right now, is when I come back for 2024, it is going to be more than the 50. I guess I want the council to be prepared, because I don't want you to start spending it on other things, because this is really important. It really is. And so I just want to make sure that you keep money aside, because there is going to be a big request. And it might be more than 150, because we might find out in 2023 that, you know what, 150 is not enough, because there's more need, and we can demonstrate that it's working. And I believe it is, because I've seen that when we get people into services and they really participate and they take it seriously, it is a profound difference in what happens in their lives.
And I do appreciate that you recognize the need to apply for grants and that sort of thing too, so that's helpful as well.
Something I think, important, and granted, I work with, older high school kids, but I think no matter the age, I think we always think that older teenagers can deal with issues better than younger kids, and I've seen excellent, I teach advanced kids really struggle, and families and just even conditions, so
They hide it.
I think, it's an important situation for all of our kids, and I think you recognize that, and I appreciate that.
Does anything that Bill Watson, does that help at all?
It's all on the criminal side. And so a lot of their resources, they seem to have unlimited resources, because once you get in trouble and once you're in the criminal justice system, there is an unlimited amount of resources. I will write, 5-page grants to get $1,000 for family court. There's just no money for family courts. We just haven't recognized the importance of this.
Your program should reduce the number of people that they have to deal with.
It should, and I think it will.
Sure, John Ford's doing all he can do.
He is a big supporter of these kinds of programs and services.
You should have gotten here before Judge Newton, because he told us to save all the money we can for his new court.
Well, we do need another court too.
It's always something.
I mean, we're working hard.
I think this idea is just, it's so obvious, it's so needed, and thank goodness that you've come up with the ask for it. I support it so wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Judge Reddy, with the budget request, the council had requested a 3 to 5 year plan, which in your situation, I think that would have been beneficial, since you're looking at projects that are going out further than just 23. So maybe that's something the judges can put together so they know what they have to look forward to in the future. Which, for this program, if there's another court, so they can get an idea of some future costs so they can plan accordingly.
And it can be a simplified, I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, this huge thing, but even just kind of like you're saying, what you potentially see, like, and then, like, just what you told us.
Okay.
So we have it written down, so you, like, when you said in 2024, you might be coming to ask for more, just kind of clarifying what so we can kind of predict what our future is going to be as well. We just received one that was pretty just straightforward, and it just kind of helps us see it, but also shows that you're kind of looking ahead, which is obvious that you have been, but it'll just put it out there for us.
Okay, I can do that. All right, anything else?
No?
All right, thank you.
Thank you for taking interns. I always appreciate that. Good luck, guys.
Good job.
What area are you studying at IU, my sophomore?
I'm doing business right now.
Okay. I was gonna guess SPIA, but that's okay.
I guess.
Good
I
job.
thought they postponed.
I was a SPIA. They have a great internship in junior year, just something to think about. It's a good one.
No, it's not. You can take the whole, you can take the whole. Oh, that's what I see.
Voter
Here for
registration.
voter registration. Oh, come on up.
Bob, 0010. You may want to let Abby know that you went ahead and came in, because she told me that she was postponing because she was gonna be gone, so.
Okay.
So just kind of make that, I'm okay with it, just make that communication
I just
though.
got the notification
Yeah,
sent
you
back that
did.
I'd be here, so.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
She's got COVID.
that's what
thing.
she'd said, that she'd been exposed anyway. If you can share that with her, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Calissa. Thanks.
Yeah, she doesn't communicate a lot of those
Voter
things with us.
Voter
That's
registration.
what she wants.
That sounds good to me to say.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I knew I'd find it. I shoved it.
You could have saved it if you want, I would let you.
Do you have any questions for us or for me? I have to apologize. Abby is exposed to COVID, and so she's not here, so. And I just understand that she wanted to postpone, but I never got anything on it, so. If you look at what we've had, Beta Long has always taken care of this, so I got to looking at it, and it didn't look like we had changed our budget for quite a few years. I guess my only concern is with the cost of everything going up, we only increased it by a few $100s here and there. Total, yeah.
What is the equipment?
Well, most of that would be computers. We've been trying to, see, we've actually got 6 desks with computers, and we've been trying to rotate it so that we're getting one new one at least every year because they wear out, just quit. And one pretty much depletes all that budget very quickly.
So you pay for that and it doesn't come out of IT?
No. Well, I've only been there 8 years, and when I got there, I think our computers may have come over on the Mayflower at that time. We did get new ones, and so we're on our second of our main desks, but we've also got one that's kind of a makeshift one right now that we use just to look up at the counter. But we're going to need another one just for the fact that, well, Abby's not wanting to be up front. She's wanting to be in the back, so she's going to move all of her stuff back there. And then whoever they get as a part-time person will be using that desk. So right now it's kind of been a communal There's only 4 of us there, 2 full-time and 2 part-time, so it's not a big thing, but if you're at the counter, it's tough if somebody else is on one to run and try to get on. And like I said, on those other ones, it was just mainly to just do the cost of what printing supplies, paper, envelopes, that sort of thing. A couple of years ago, the state used to mail us all the registrations. Now they come online and we have to print our own. And even if we were to get 5 of them from the same person, they expect us to print each one of them and keep a file on it. So it's starting to add up a little more than what it did in the past.
5 registrations, 1 person.
Well, and just like this last project we had was the state through the, what would it have been, the Southern District Court, where they've called people for jury duty and they didn't respond. We had to send them back a letter to the address that they have on file. So far, out of those nearly 500, probably 200 have already come back. Majority of them are going to come back because they didn't respond the first time. But we can't just do anything with them until we get several of these comebacks, and then the state will let us start making procedures to get them off the voting rolls. But unfortunately, now it can take up to 10 years to get somebody off the list.
That with COVID maybe dying down, we can get you back out in the schools again, like what we
We'd love
did.
to be there.
That was pretty cool to bring in the machines, so.
Well, that's one thing, after the election was over, the clerk's office always has a kind of a go-through to talk about their people we've brought in to work at the polls and kind of diagnose what maybe needs to be changed here or people changed here and there. And that was one of the things that was brought up, was getting back into the schools.
Yeah,
and,
you could get some workers for you guys too. I think kids were intrigued by
yeah,
that,
it,
hopefully.
you know, this past election was just very odd in that we had so many people that were opposed on the ballot that normally helped work for us, either their relative or themselves. We had a problem getting enough poll workers. I don't think that'll be a problem for the fall because obviously we lose over half of them off of there. But, you know, again, it's
a good experience. Well, if you ever need contacts, let me know for that.
Well,
I really
that's
enjoyed that.
North has been one of those where they tend to respond a lot better. Probably West Vigo's the one that gives us the most questions, and are really, I don't know, it's just because it's a smaller group that they have a lot more questions for us. Usually at South, they look at us like, what are you here for, and why are you
Oh, I
bothering us?
prep them. I'm like, you better ask questions.
But, and believe it or not, McLean, when McLean was still there, probably was the most attentive audience we had.
Smaller groups.
So-
That's the key. Well, thanks. Thanks, Bob.
But thank you for listening to me, and like I said, if you have any questions on it, like I said, it's just minor little adjustments.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I just